What is going on, everybody? You may remember about 2 weeks ago, give or take, I brought you guys a video covering the Boox Palma 2. If you're unfamiliar with the device, one, you should just go watch that first impressions video. But two, it's basically what you get if you take a phone and you cross it with an e-reader. You get like an e-reader in the body of a phone. It's a very strange device. But in that video where I gave my first impressions, I said that we would have a full review coming later that might be in a different format, and that indeed is that video. So I am here with my wife, Jessie.
Hello.
Who I remembered to unmute this time. I saw the audio spike, so you are now audible. Take two. You guys didn't know that. So what I did is I passed the Boox Palma 2 off to her because while I have been reading quite a bit lately, I primarily do audiobooks because I multitask. Earbuds are in, books going, I'm doing other stuff. She likes to actually read words on a screen. So I passed it off to her, had it for a couple of weeks, and yeah, we're going to see how she felt about it over these last couple of weeks. So I guess we'll just kind of start broad. You've had it for a couple of weeks. Is there anything that just really stands out to you about this device?
Well, here it is right here. I want to show it off first. Well, I've got accessories on it. Um, First of all, what I want to say is that it stands out because it's just really I feel like it's premium feeling. And I love that it's like the size of a phone. Like it's not that different from my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I've got accessories on it. I've got a clear case that I found on Amazon specifically for it. It's got a nice little handle on the back so I can read it and hold it like that. I got a cute little strap to go at the top from Five Below, and I put some of my little stickers in there. Those are leopard geckos. For the people out there who are into e-readers, you'll know that that's kind of like the look. Oops, I just hit myself in the face with it. You put stickers on the back of it. They're
That was
not
the
stuck
moment.
on there.
That was the moment of the video.
Yeah. They're not stuck on there. They're just like in the case. But I think it's really premium and I really like the white one. I'm really glad that that's the one that got sent to you because it's the one I like the best. But it's really premium and I think um even amongst the Boox devices that you have, which I think you have 3 now,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the one that stands out the most.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So you just held it up next to your Pixel 9, and I think that that's like the biggest question that most people are going to have is if it's the same size, give or take, as your smartphone, why not just read on your smartphone? What is it about the Boox Palma, in this case the Palma 2, that is like this is the better reading device versus your Pixel?
For me, it's entirely about eye strain. I don't have bad eyesight, but I have astigmatism and I have like eye fatigue from being in front of screens like my entire life. And screens are kind of hard on my eyes. So the difference between using like I can literally bring up the same book on my phone. So on my Pixel, um I don't know if it's you can see, like, there's flashing, like, there's gonna be, like, a glare because it's a glass
I
screen,
believe that like sort
and
of flashing that you see on camera, I think that's called pulse width modulation. I may be wrong about that being
I've
visible on
never
camera.
heard of
I
that.
think it is. Some phones have a higher PWM that's better for eye strain, but for some people are really sensitive to PWM and it can like actually give them headaches and things like that. So obviously
Yeah.
an e-ink screen is not going to have the
Yes.
glare.
I
It's not
couldn't
going to
think of
have
what it
any of
was
that
called.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's e-ink, but not only is it e-ink, but this one has a matte screen, which I really, really like. Also, it's like when you listen to digital music versus, like, vinyl.
Okay.
Like, for me, I felt like it was almost weird listening to the vinyl because I was like, it just sounds so smooth and like it just works. But reading on e-ink to me is just like it just cuts down the fatigue. And I don't know how many people are gonna relate
So,
to that, but it really starts to be a problem after a while. And I feel
yeah.
it more in one eye than the other too, which is how I know it's like legitimately my astigmatism because I think it's this eye, and that's the one that like gets really tired, I guess.
So that's actually kind of interesting because the whole like digital music versus analog music thing, I think it was Jack White. He was talking about how with digital music, there are imperceivable gaps in the audio because the signal it's complicated again too, and I may be totally wrong about this. Jack White may have been wrong. He probably knows what he's talking about, right? But he was talking about how there's tiny imperceivable gaps in the music. You don't know that they're there, but they're there. Whereas with analog music, there is nothing like that. It is fully continuous. It's natural. When it comes to the e-ink screen, there actually is something kind of akin to that. And by the way, if there's any like audio files in the comments, explain in the comments what I was just saying.
Yeah,
You could
because
probably explain it
yes.
better. But there is something analogous to this with these screens. So when you're looking at your phone screen, it's probably refreshing 60 times a second. If it's moving, it may be refreshing 90 or 120 times a second. And some phones, when they're still, can drop all the way down to 1 time per second. But an e-ink screen, if you're not doing anything on it, is refreshing 1 time and then never again until you do something
Yeah.
else. So it's like looking at a piece of paper. There is
Yeah,
no
it's
refresh happening.
that's it too, and I'm glad that you said that because I was gonna forget to mention it, but it's like the closest thing I can get to paper with it also being digital. This is, by the way, this is what it looks like without the light on. I did have the light on because I was reading in here just like before we started the video. But this is what it looks like without the light, and it just to me like that's just it's so much easier on the eyes. And then also there's something like aesthetic about e-ink that I'm just, like, drawn to it, and I don't know how many other people who watch this, like, raise your hand in the comments if you love E. Like, if there's something that you're just like, "Oh, that's cool, like, I like that."
Yeah. So for me, my biggest thing was I felt like the hardware was largely fine. It's e-ink. There are limitations there with regard to just the perceived speed of the device. You go from screen to screen. It's just not going to feel super fast.
It's not gonna feel like
Because
my
it can't.
phone,
Right.
but
It's going to be a physically slower device. My problems with it, most of them came down to the software. And there's several little things I think we should get into. Was there something you wanted to say there though?
yeah, I did wanna just say that, like, among the books devices that we have, I think we have was it the Note
A
Air?
note and an error.
Note and an Air.
I think
So we
that's
had
right.
the smaller tablet one, and then we had the big one.
Hmm.
And out of all 3 of these devices, this is the one that was the smoothest as far as, like, turning pages and like, I don't have to refresh this one nearly as much as I had to do the tablet. Was that called the Air? The
I
tablet,
think
the
the
Air? The
tablet was
little
the
one?
air and the note was the little one. Yeah.
The Note is the one that I carried around the longest
Yes.
because the Air was
A little
too
bigger.
big for me. But yeah, like, I never have to refresh this one, but then again, also, like, I'm not reading comics like I was before, but even when I read a book on that one, I feel like I was constantly having to refresh it because the words just weren't as clear. They're so clear on this, like, this is my favorite one so far.
Okay, gotcha. So with that software, the first thing that I came across was that I just really didn't love the built-in launcher. But given that this runs Android, you can do something about that. You can just install a third-party launcher. And I actually installed Niagara Launcher, which I think worked quite well on it. You went back to the stock launcher. Now, the reason I didn't like it, the primary reason, was because there's no app drawer. It's like an iPhone or something, right? So on a normal Android phone, you have your app drawer where all of your apps live, and then only the apps you want on your home screen are on your home screen. This one, they're just all on your home screen. So you end
Yeah,
up making a folder that's called junk or miscellaneous,
it
whatever,
was
and that's
miscellaneous, the one I'm using.
that's where all of your extra apps live. So I just felt like the launcher was a little bit limited, and I just kind of wondered like I don't know, just give us an app drawer. Like that's such a simple, basic
Yeah,
thing. Did you just kind of get used to the launcher and you're just like,
I
whatever,
did.
there's a folder, who cares?
Yeah, I did. So, I mean, was it called, I think it's Onyx Launcher. I got used to the software. The only thing I really, really wanted to do was move my icons around, which I finally figured out how to do that. And then also I wanted to change the background. I've got a Sailor Moon background right now.
That's another great point that I want to quickly talk about. The act of getting a wallpaper on the device
Yeah,
into the correct folder and then set as the wallpaper was entirely too difficult. Like that, it's
it
little
was.
things like that, but it's like, okay, it runs Android. On every other Android device, you long press the background, a thing pops up, you pick an item, an image, and you set it, and you're done. On this thing, it's in a different place and the file has to be in the right folder. I had to install a file browser. CX File Explorer is the go-to for me. Put it in the right place. That was a little bit much for me. It's like, why is this
Yeah.
so complicated?
Yeah, it was. And then one thing I did too is I to kind of slow or to speed up the process, I mean, is I downloaded Pinterest and I went on Pinterest on here and I just like I mean, I scrolled for I've probably spent like 2 hours trying to pick out a good wallpaper and home screen,
Because
which I
most
know that like
wallpapers that look good on your phone aren't going to look
they're
good on that screen.
no. I wanted something that was black and white and that just looked kinda cute, so that's my screensaver, that's, Sailor Moon sticking her tongue out, and then I have not changed it since I found one that I liked. I have not changed it because it was kind of a pain in the butt, and then that's the one that's on the home screen.
Now, correct
Um,
correct me if I'm wrong really quickly. I don't think you had to have the images. Was it they couldn't be in the downloads folder, right? I wouldn't see them if they were in the downloads folder.
no,
You had to
they
move
had
them to like was it one specific folder or
it
were there like two or three different folders that could work? I don't. I guess it
you
really.
go into gallery and there's one you're not gonna be able to read that, but there's one well, now there's a folder that says pins from Pinterest. But there's one called like push, system, and something else.
It,
It was really weird.
yeah, it might not be one specific folder, but you would think you could just
Yeah,
download it and it would pull it from. But it wouldn't see it in the downloads folder. We had to move it someplace else.
yeah,
So that's just one of
yeah.
those little rough edges that makes things a little bit more difficult. But the good news is you can get away from some of this stuff. Like I didn't think that the built-in keyboard was very good, so we just installed Gboard and
Yeah.
it's fine.
I don't think I even I didn't have to use the original one. Like you had
No.
Gboard installed immediately, which is good because I would not have been able to handle it probably. So
So you did feel like, generally speaking, the just the overall speed and responsiveness of the device was at least on par with the other Books devices, if not a little bit better than. But people should understand it's going to be slower and less responsive
because
than
it's
a
e
normal phone. It's
yeah,
e-ink, and it's not a
yeah,
super fast processor with a lot of RAM either. So if you're expecting it to be this blazing fast thing, it's not going to be.
yeah,
But ultimately, what you needed to do is get books on the device and then scroll
mhm.
through pages, and it's going to do that fine.
I don't know if we're heading into this topic or not, but I've got all of my, apps that I read on. I've got Kindle Unlimited. I actually have Audible on there too. I have Playbooks. I have Libby, which I literally never use. I installed Webtoon because that is one that I heard about, that is really good on here, and it's, like, basically comics, like, by individual artists and, illustrators. And then I've got, Chrome on there, and then I've got my miscellaneous folder too, which I think just yeah, that's just basically my app drawer, but
Yeah, it's
in
just
a folder.
the other stuff.
Yeah.
One more thing that I want to mention in terms of just like software rough edges, and I'll see what you think about this as well. I don't know why they felt the need to reinvent the wheel when it came to navigation. On a normal Android phone, a swipe up from the bottom goes home, a swipe in on the left or on the right goes back. If you want to get into your recent applications, it's very simple. You swipe up and you hold, which I think I only had the one app open. You swipe up and hold, and there are your recent applications. It's very, very straightforward. On this one, they do a lot of weird things. Like a swipe up goes home in the middle, but
Mhm.
on the left side of the screen, so like this would be home, but this
Yeah.
over here is going to do something else. This over here is going to do something else. So there's three
Yeah.
different swipe up
So
areas.
this is the one I do all the time.
So that
And
goes
sometimes
home.
I don't even mean to do that. And like I literally never even use the other gestures. But I don't know why, but I keep forgetting that I have to like swipe down to get to my settings, which is where I can like turn the
But
brightness up and everything.
you swipe down to get to your settings. You swipe down on one side. If you swipe down on the other side, it gives the notification shade. I don't
Oh, that got stuck on there earlier today, and I was like, "What am I doing? How do I
I
get out
don't
of
know
that?"
why they didn't just do normal Android stuff. Now you could say there's one function that you might need, and it's the manual refresh button with e-ink screens. After the e-ink screen shows one thing, and then another, then another, then another, you might start get ghosting, where those old frames are still kind of vaguely visible, and you can hit a refresh button, it blinks black, and then it goes back, and then it's nice and clear. By default, these devices auto refresh every so many frames, basically. And you can do things like you can map that auto refresh to different things. And I get, you might need to do something like that. But to me, the whole bottom should be home
Mhm.
and the whole top, it's just like a normal phone. If I want my
Yeah, it should
notifications,
be.
it's one swipe. Another swipe are my settings. Why is it split into left side, right side? It's weird. It's like there's so many things, like the navigation, like the keyboard, like the wallpapers that they just said, okay, Google has their own thing that works really well, but we're gonna throw that out and we're gonna invent our own thing
Yeah.
that is unintuitive and worse than what is just already there.
Yeah.
That is my biggest complaint with that device
For
is
ease
just
of
that
use, it should have
exactly.
just been the same.
There's no need. Didn't
Yeah.
have to do any of that. Could have left it exactly the same. One more thing I want to quickly add here in post is that getting to your actual settings is not as simple as it should be. You would think this is it, and yes, these are definitely some settings, but these are not your full Android system settings. And I thought maybe I just need to go into more settings here, and you do see more stuff, but you still don't see your full true Android system settings. Maybe there's another simpler way to do this. There probably is. But what I've been doing is literally going into another launcher like Niagara where you can actually see the settings application, quote unquote, the little icon, and that is the actual true full Android system settings. And there are some things like your battery information, your battery usage, that you can only see there. And it seems like that there's no other way to get to that information unless you find some workaround like I just showed you. So one thing that we do need to touch on, though, that is a strong point because we've just kind of, well, I've just kind of hammered it a little bit. Talk about the battery life. I do have a screenshot here that I took. I literally took a photo of your phone, and it was
Mhm.
showing 10 days, and you were at 15%, 12 and a half hours of screen on time. And again, that was a 10-day span, and you
Mhm.
still had 15% battery. So, you know, do you feel like the battery life is pretty strong? I mean, I feel like that's pretty good.
I feel like that's pretty good. It's, not as strong as some of the devices I've used in the past, but
That
they
are
also did
larger.
not they they were bigger. But this one, I think the reason why I think I could have even gone longer, but I make use of the brightness on here a lot,
The
like changing the
actual yeah,
yeah.
so this
So
e-ink
like
screen does have a light. And by the way, I will be correct this time. I said instinctively I called it a backlight, and I had several comments saying no, it's not a backlight. Technically, it's a front light, and that is I think that's correct. So the light's not coming from behind the screen; it's
yeah,
coming from
it comes from down at the bottom, and I know this because I used it jacked up, like the light jacked up the other day, and I could see that it was brighter at the bottom than at the top. But I know you can't see what the heck is going on there, but that's like really
yeah,
good. And
it
this
gets
is
very
one of the
bright.
things that I first saw this device. This is the first, well, not the Palma 2. How much it's lighting up my face. Um, But I first saw the Boox Palma on TikTok, and I was like, Shane, you gotta like reach out to these people because of how like adjustable it was. And that's also one thing that I liked about the Note was that it also had like adjustable brightness. But I have like been fiddling with the brightness and the temperature a lot. So I probably, if I had been reading in just good natural lighting and not using the backlight, then I probably could have extended that battery life even more. But, there were a couple of days where I had to open, so I was up at like, I don't know, like 5, and I get to work about 10 or 15 minutes earlier than I thought. So I'm sitting in my car in the dark reading a
Yeah.
book. So
So you would say you reasonably get at least a week out of it between charges. Does
yeah,
that
and I'm
seem
not
reasonable?
gonna charge it again until it's at 15% is when it started, like, it had, like, a little line on the battery, and I think it was kinda being like, "Hey, like, maybe you
Yeah.
could charge me." But
Yeah.
I coulda probably just kept
Hmm.
reading it for another day without any
Yeah.
issues, but I have that battery paranoia.
Yeah.
But with this, like, I'm not worried about it as much. Like, I'm not like, "Oh god, I gotta charge it now." Um, so yeah, it's pretty good, and I will say though, I think that the charging is kinda slow,
That's
but then
not super
again,
surprising.
yeah, if I use it in a different plug, like a different cable, like the one that's next to the TV or the couch, it did it faster than, like, the charger that was in my car. Because 'Cause I've charged it in my car, and I'm like, "That is not charging very fast," but that could just be the cable that I was using.
Okay, so I pulled up their specs on their website, and under other specs, they do list the battery being basically 4,000 milliamp hours, but they don't mention the charging speed. But I think that the charger it came with was like a 10-watt charger. I may be wrong about this. I know it was slow. I don't know if it was as slow as 10 watts, but that's pretty doggone slow. So
It was
charging
slow.
speed, charging speed. I guess we could just test it. I'll tell you what I'll do. Does it need to be charged right now?
It's at 66%, we
That's good
could.
enough. So I'll plug it into one that has a meter, and I will put B-roll on top of the video right now, and you'll be seeing right now how fast it charges, so you'll know. So overall, what are your thoughts on the device? Is this something that you can see yourself continuing each morning to get up, put your Pixel in one pocket and your Palma in another pocket or in a purse or
Yeah,
whatever? And are you
yeah.
going to continue using this
Yeah,
device?
I'm gonna keep doing that. So that's what I was doing. I'm gonna do um like a presentation. So what I was doing was on the days that I had a short shift and I only had like a 15-minute break, I was putting this phone in this pocket and then the Palma in that pocket, and then I would have my wallet in this pocket, my earbuds in this pocket, and I'd go to work. And then on the days that I had a longer a longer break, then I would have it in my bag so I could have like if I've never put my phone in my purse anymore, but if I did, I've got literally it's like stuffed full. But I've got my phone, my Boox Palma, and then my little wallet with my earbuds in it. And I just go to work.
There you go. I think that that's the strongest endorsement that we can probably give is that in a household where you have so many devices to use, you have two other e-ink, actually, what, three other e-ink devices because you have
I
a
don't want to
Kindle of
think
some
about
sort,
it.
don't
It
you?
makes me feel guilty. Yeah,
No,
I don't have the note in here. I think the note might be in my backpack, but this is
a
an yeah, this Willow gave to me.
very
And
old Kindle.
this is my favorite though because it has like the little keyboard on it
Hmm.
and I just like how light it is and it's got buttons on it. We're never going to see anything like that again. But I
So
love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're the Palma 2 would be your device of choice given the
Yes.
options that you have. So I think that's
Yes.
a pretty strong endorsement. So unless there's anything else that pops to mind that you feel like you need to say about it.
So this would have been one that I would have bought out of my own money if I like really, really, really wanted one. And I was looking at e-readers and I had like a handful that I wanted, but I wanted one that was like matte screen. What am I trying to say? Backlit, not backlit, front lit with the
Front
light
lit.
on it. So yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. That's just what I have to say about it. Is I would, because I know that people have asked, like, whether or not I would buy a device if it was out of my wallet and not yours and or a review on it. And yes, absolutely, I would.
For $279, you think you'd be down with it?
Hmm?
Very good. Well, so I guess we'll wrap it up there. I do want to say quickly, thanks to Boox for sending the Palma 2 over for us to make this video to review. We did not pay the $279 for it. They sent it over to me to do stuff like this with it. So again, thanks to Boox for that. There should be a link in the description down below, which if you click the link and you make a purchase, it does help support the channel. We would earn commission from that. So if you want to buy the thing, that would be the way to go to do that. So I think we've said everything that we need to say about the Boox Palma 2. Not a perfect device, but at what it is meant to do, it's pretty darn good. I think it fits the bill for a lot of different people. So thanks for helping me out with this review.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. So if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button before you go. I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.